Footballtribeug channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. We a bit late due to some power challenges. As I speak, power is off, and I'm having to rely on my mobile internet as opposed to Wi-Fi. So if you do experience any disruptions in signals or whatsoever, please do bear with us or understand that that's entirely the cause of the problem. Then, but anyways, we'll be here for as long as we can afford to, given that I'm struggling with no battery, power is still off, and things of that nature. So, but kindly indulge me as we get into today's conversation this morning, where we'll be speaking about Manchester United, who have pulled out of negotiations or discussions over a documentary with Amazon. And yeah, so that situation is ongoing. Had came to light yesterday. So I thought, excuse me, I thought we should come on here and digest it all in regards to that thing. Anyways, of course, there's plenty more to discuss than just the Manchester United's documentary wars and things of that nature, really. So, what I will say is that looks like a lot is going on in there. A lot is going on in there. But before I get started, or before we get started, please, I want to say thank you to all our new community members. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for joining the community. We continue to grow. We continue to grow. It's quite encouraging that as we continue on this path of growth. The signs are positive, quite positive. That that we are growing. Anyways, so without wasting any further ado, I think okay, maybe let me kick off with some comments from some of our videos that have come in in recent times. That have come in, in recent times. I think, all right. Mia, hi. Can you say hi? Hi, Mia. How are you doing? Where are you joining us from? Good morning to you all. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning. It's about 9:24 a.m. in Kampala, Uganda. That's East African time, where I'm coming to you live. If you're new, please guys consider liking the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here. And thank you for joining us this morning. Let's engage in the comment section. Just leave me hi. Let me know where you're joining us from. What time is it there? I know for a fact that people in the USA, it's night time and people are planning to go to bed or have already gone to bed, depending on their different time schedules. But thank you so much. So really, quite impressive. So thank you so much to all new community members. I do appreciate your love and support. Thank you, Team USA, Team India, Team Indonesia, UK, Uganda, Kenya, Nigeria, and every other single one of you that does join us on every single day to discuss the latest from the world of sport. So it's been a pleasure having you, and I do reckon that we will have a good time for this morning's podcast. Like I said, we're going to kick off things at Man United because they have pulled out of secret talks over a record-breaking Amazon series. That's according to The Athletic. The deal was well in excess of £10 million off after months of dialogue. Apparently, Ruben Amorim, that's the manager at Manchester United, was opposed to the idea from the onset, and Manchester United aligned on the final decision. So the football commercial and timing reasons is what sort of informed that kind of decision. So that's according all to The Athletic. Now, I think given what we've observed of Man United, let's take this back to Akel. Hi Akel, how are you doing? Where are you joining us from? Akel? So I think from what we observed of Manchester United for the last couple of years, let's take it back when they part ways with Organa Solskjaer and they brought in Ralph Rangnick as an interim. Akel says, I need money. Unfortunately, Akel, I'm not sure I'm able to help in that regard. But keep seeking help in multiple sources. You never know where you could find your angel provider. So, like, given what we've seen of Man United, when they part ways with with uh, with Organa Social, that was in 2021, and brought in Ralph Rangnick, and he told them they needed open heart surgery as a club, that there's a lot of things that needed to correct within the club. It wasn't just about the players and etc. And of course, many didn't believe him. Many thought he wasn't being honest, something like that. But really, I think it's come to light. I do not think that. So, given what we've seen from coming from Ralph Rangnick, recommending that, then we've had about we've seen the stadium leaking. Of course, they worked on to fix that. There's a mice infestation at Old Trafford. Then we've had all these player cocoons within the dressing room. Of course, we saw the incoming of Eric Ten Hag. You remember the situation that culminated after the with Cristiano Ronaldo when he did that interview with Piers Morgan and eventually left for Saudi Pro League. Then the situation with Jordan Sancho. We've had a bit of mumblings with Marcus Rashford and things of that nature. So overall, I think Man United looked at it and the optics of everything and thought to themselves, maybe we are just not ready yet to open ourselves to the world, especially when it comes to behind the scenes. In that regard, we look, they already have all these host of players that they are trying to move on. In Marcus Rashford, Antony, Sancho, Ganacho, and Tyler Malacia, we do know that they will be willing to listen to offers for Luke Shaw. We do know for a fact that they want to move on Andre Onana, although that's is increasingly a bit unlikely. If a good offer came for Casemiro, they'll be able to listen to that. Now, just assume that let's say the season we get to the start of the season, which essentially doesn't mean the closure of the transfer window, and these five players who have asked to leave the club are yet to find a new home. So do you let at that by that point have you let them return to the club to train separately, or do they rejoin the group? Do they train with the reserves? What's going on with them? So maybe United looked at that and said, look, we need the money, but maybe just now is not the time. I mean, in terms of money wise, remember last season, as soon as the season ended, as soon as they finished playing that game against Aston Villa, they made the trip to Asia where they played two games against the Southeast Asia All Stars. I think that game was played in Hong Kong, and then they also played another game in Malaysia. So really, which made them about what? About 7 million pounds. So really, it was quite commercial. It is as commercial as it comes. So you can imagine when you're engaged in discussions with Amazon for a deal that is worth about 10 million pounds to do a documentary, and they're saying maybe we still have so many skeletons behind our closets that we wouldn't want the world to see that we're choosing to shut our doors on the cameras. We know that Tottenham Hotspurs have done these kinds of series. Arsenal did it with Amazon. You remember the All or Nothing? That was I think the season when they finished fifth in the Premier League. That was the 2021-2022 Premier League season. To the best of my recollection, I stand to be corrected if I'm wrong with that one. Then we know Man City have done before. So clubs have been doing it, not just to generate revenue, but further to connect with the fans, to show them how certain things work, how maybe we as fans or commentators or football analysts or observers of the game, whichever way you want to categorize us, sort of observe or misjudge certain things from the outside, because usually we are relying on snippets of insider information to come and bring us the information to say this is what is going on in the camp and that kind of thing. So again, we saw, particularly with that of Arsenal, we saw how Mikel Arteta dealt with players. We saw team meetings, we saw one-on-ones with players to try and improve their performances with the assistant coaches. We saw part of the dressing room team talk. Now, next season, we know cameras are going to be going to dressing rooms, and players and managers are going to be doing halftime sort of quick reviews with the media, a concept they've copied from the Spanish La Liga. Personally, I do not really believe in it, but I mean, it's not for myself perhaps to judge or even say, not that I do, my word holds any ounce of consideration whatsoever, but I do think, I mean, because imagine you're coming off the game, 45 minutes, whether you get a goal down or it's all square or you're goal ahead, whatever your mind is about is going out for those 15 minutes, have maybe 7 minutes of a bit cooling, try to take all the first half in, make your thoughts on what needs to change. The manager is thinking tactics, what we need to adjust here and there, that team talk, maybe you're going to give them a dressing down. Maybe you're thinking the captain is going to do it. Now just imagine that as you plan all that, then on the other end, you also have to think about doing a half-time team talk, which eats into your time. So I've never really been a fan for that, even when I've witnessed it in the Spanish La Liga. You can see players' hearts are usually racing. They quickly rush through, those 1, 2, 3 questions that are thrown at them. And yeah, for me, it's not something that ever bought. In terms of cameras in the dressing room, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that, especially when players not seeing them get dressed, but some of the pep talks that happen sometimes around as they walk out, of the dressing rooms and things of that nature. That's fine. But for me, when it comes to the halftime interviews, those ones I'm not really into it. Guys, please like the podcast. Please consider liking the podcast, but also subscribing to the channel if you're new here, and help me grow our community here at Football Tribe UG. But it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. So that's the situation with Man United. So I think they weighed all their options and said maybe now is not the time that we get to expose ourselves to that kind of further public scrutiny. We know the overall sentiments around the club in regards to fans' opinion are not great, especially on the backdrop of a very poor season in which they finished 15th on the Premier League table, but also losing out to the Europa League final, losing that to Tottenham, who themselves finished 17th. So on the backdrop of that, then Ruben Amorim, still a new manager, only 6 months into his job, maybe given the kinds of things he wants to transform, and maybe choice of language, maybe not so suitable for the cameras, because again, you take it back to I'm sorry guys, to keep relying on the examples from Arsenal sometimes, but I mean, that's where we draw some of these examples from. They're the ones closest to us. For example, Mikel Arteta, when he walked into that Arsenal dressing room, he talked about his non-negotiables. And again, when we watched that Arsenal documentary, we saw on the day, I think when they were losing in the FA Cup, was it against Nottingham Forest, the sort of fire and fury that he was sort of into in that game. So really, maybe Ruben Amorim is thinking to himself, maybe I do not want to, expose myself to that. Hey, what's your name? Payson. Hi, Payson. Good to have you back on the broadcast. Thank you for joining us once again. Kindly like the broadcast. But if you didn't subscribe the last time you were with us here, please consider doing so as well. So, anyways, for me, overall, that's my assessment of that situation at Manchester United, of turning down that £10 million deal from Amazon to shoot their documentary, which would take us behind the scenes on how things are done, on the ins and outs of Manchester United. Perhaps show us a little more skeletons in regards to what's ongoing at the club. I've said, whatever has happened ever since the sacking of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has not really been impressive, even though they've been things that Man United fans look onto and say maybe we still have a decent club in here, especially during the Ten Hag, first campaign. He reached two finals, losing the FA Cup final to Manchester City, and then winning the Carabao Cup final. Then in his second spell, again he reached the finals of the FA Cup and they beat Manchester City. So then what was his third season got sacked 9 games into the season, and then of course we had the interim Ruud van Nistelrooy, who managed Man United through 5 games before he left the club and paved the way for Ruben Amorim. Of course, we know Ruud van Nistelrooy ended up at Leicester City, where he has since been shown the exit due to a poor run of results that saw Leicester City equally be relegated last season. Remember, at Leicester City, he was replacing Steve Cooper, who had been equally shown the exit there. So, really, United have made that decision that they won't be going forward with that documentary, at least not for now. Then quickly, away from Manchester United. Okay, before we even run away from Manchester United, yesterday night, for those of you that were part of our discussion, we did discuss Manchester United is, Victor Osimhen saying no, apparently rejecting a move to Manchester United as he does favor a move to Galatasaray, where he spent last season on loan, scoring 26 goals and providing 5 assists in 29 league games. I had a 42 goal involvement in 47 games for Galatasaray, which was quite impressive, being on loan from AC Napoli. And then we do know for now that the 26-year-old Nigerian international has already agreed to personal terms on a 3-year contract in which it is believed that he will be earning about 15 million euros in net pay per season. While a proposed deal to Manchester United would have seen him take a significant pay cut if it was to be seen through. Then Galatasaray are reluctant to pay his 75 million release clause, which Al Hilal had informed Napoli that they had been willing to pay. However, the player said no to Al Hilal, even when they had a very lucrative offer for him on table that was in the excess of 40 million euros per season in terms of earnings, which could have been quite astronomical. But apparently, the Nigerian would prefer to stay in Europe and continue his career there in Europe. So he is likely to go to Turkey. I remember us discussing that situation with the likes of Pressing Kosi and a couple of other fans on the channel, and were saying, look, in terms of what the money means, given where he does come from, Nigeria being his home country, and maybe he would have done really a lot with that kind of money if he indeed completed the move to Al Hilal. So in regards on a money basis, an entirely money basis, it was a no-brainer, but he chose to decline that move. So he is still with Napoli. Napoli are desperate to get him off their wage bill, but so far Galatasaray are reluctant to pay the 75 million euros clause. Their initial offer of about 55 million euros plus I think 5 million euros in add-ons was turned down, and they hope to go back in with fresh terms to AC Napoli to see if they can seal that deal. Now, earlier on, he did request Galatasaray to give him some time to make a decision on his future. That was at the height of the interest from Al Hilal. Of course, we know that Juventus were one of those interested, but Juventus have since added Jonathan David, that's the 25-year-old Canadian international, as a free agent from Lille. So they've added him to their ranks, and they still have Randall Colomwani on their books, as well as Dusan Blajovic. So I do not think that they will be throwing their hat back into the ring to get another striker. So that's the situation with Victor Osimhen. Now that he did turn down Manchester United, it remains to be seen who Manchester United will latch onto, because that's the second player that has Manchester United to move elsewhere. The first was Liam Delap. United were well in ahead of negotiations, ahead of all suitors to sign Liam Delap from Ipswich Town, but we know he since made the move to Chelsea because Chelsea have Champions League football, while you know Manchester United do not have that offer of Champions League football. Excuse me. So that means that United will have to switch to possibly their plan B, their plan C, plan D, depending on how their shit looks in terms of ranking for potential strikers to get on board. Recent reports have indicated that they did hold talks with Ollie Watkins' camp. That's the 29-year-old Aston Villa striker, an England international, very, very, very experienced. He's a very reliable player, one that you can rely on. His numbers do speak for himself. Sorry, do speak for themselves as compared to anybody else that United would target. Of course, he does turn 30 in December, but I do not think that should hold United back. We know they've signed older strikers before: Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Randall Falcao, Edson Cavani. We know for a fact, because for those of you that forget, Edson Cavani scored that equalizer in the UEFA Europa League finals against Villarreal in 2021. While I think yes, that game ending on penalties with Villarreal winning it 11-10. So then, of course, they signed Robin van Persie from Arsenal back in 2012, again within the same age bracket. So I do not think age should be a factor for Man United in deciding whether to sign Ollie Watkins or not. In any case, I do think they need a very senior striker. They need somebody that can help these youngsters in Rasmus Højlund, who is 22, and then Joshua Zirkzee, who recently turned 24. On having joined Manchester United only last summer, he did not have a brilliant start to his life at Old Trafford. So maybe they need a player that they can learn on from, and no better option comes than Ollie Watkins at this moment in the transfer window. So he is available. Chances are he won't cost 60 million pounds, as had been quoted for Arsenal during talks with Arsenal and Aston Villa. I think, for me, I think a deal worth about 35 million pounds to 40 should suffice for a 29-year-old who you can get on a 3-4 year contract, and it does deliver you the goods in the coming years. He's quite a very dynamic player with Premier League experience, so there's no need for adaptability, pretty much, which Joshua Zirkzee and Rasmus Højlund have struggled with, despite being signed quite expensively. Then he can also play alongside another striker. He can play as a 10, so he has no problem with that. You look at his best campaign, I think, in the Premier League, that was 2023-2024, when he posted numbers of up to 19 goals and 13 assists. That was a 32 goal involvement in 37 appearances. Then last season, again, he posted a 24 goal involvement overall with 16 goals and 8 assists. And when you rewind it back to the 2022-2023 campaign, again, 15 goals and 6 assists. That's a 21 goal involvement. Overall, about 5 seasons in the top flight. And when you look at his track record, he's averaged at least 35 games plus in a season. So, I mean, that speaks to his availability. Doesn't easily get injured. So also that should be encouraging for Manchester United to sign Ollie Watkins. For me, I think he is the best candidate. He's the best alternative that is on the market. But do not forget, Arsenal are also monitoring that situation. You never know, depending on what movements could come at the club, or if they do fail to land some of their targets, primary targets, then they could turn their attention to Ollie Watkins, even though they are still moving forward with getting a deal done for Victor Gyökeres, with Andrea Bata having reported to have made the trip to Portugal to try and seal that deal. Maybe we'll get to speak about Victor Gyökeres in just a bit. But for now, let's proceed with Manchester United's striking options. alternatives. Guys, please forgive the low light. Like I told you, I do not have power, so I'm relying entirely on natural light, and yet it's a bit cloudy out there, so we're not having sufficient light coming through in case we're having poor lighting. So then the other option is Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Apparently, Manchester United are interested in the 28-year-old England international who has pathways with Everton after 9 Premier League seasons with them. Of course, his contract ran out. He's now a free agent. But I mean, when it comes to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, we're talking about a player who only in 2 seasons has he managed to score 10 plus goals. Only in 2 seasons, in his 9 seasons at Everton, and though that was 2019-2020, he scored 13 goals. I think in about yes, he scored 13 goals in that season. So then you look at the subsequent season, that was 2020-2021. That's when he scored 16 goals. And again, so much to the credit of Carlo Ancelotti, who joined Everton in December 2019. I think that was around the 21st, and he was only with them for a season and a half before returning to Real Madrid, where he has been since 2021 until the end of last season. Jonas, hi Jonas, how are you doing, my brother? Welcome to yet to another live broadcast on Footballtribeug channel. Kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing if you did not subscribe on your first time here. But thank you so much. So for me, I do not think that Dominic Calvert-Lewin should be really a concrete candidate for Manchester United. Yes, you could say he's a bit of a late developer, but his his injury record is not one to be really relied upon, because last season I think he made 26 appearances in the Premier League alone. Then also when you look at 2022-2023 season and 2021-2022 season, and then 2022-2023 season, he had so many injuries. He could only make 17 appearances in each of those seasons. So again, that speaks to his availability as compared to Oli Watkins. So for me, Oli Watkins remains a more top candidate as compared to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Then the other option that Man United are considering or have apparently expressed a certain level of interest, I do not know to what extent or whether it's just mere grapevine. As you know, that can tend to be the nature of the transfer window, But Christopher Nkunku from Chelsea, that's the 27-year-old French international, has also been linked with a potential move to Manchester United. But personally, I do not see how Oli Watkins walks into Manchester United and suddenly changes their fortunes. I do not see how he walks in and improves Man United. He's been at Chelsea for 2 seasons. Of course, his first season, he also did struggle, having suffered a very long-term knee injury that kept him out of action. I think he played about 11, he made about 11 appearances in the Premier League, in which he scored 3 goals. So, which in itself wasn't a very good return on investment. The last season, made 27 appearances, scored 3 goals and 2 assists in the Premier League alone. Again, that's not a good number, posting good numbers. Yes, you could take a bet on him, but at the age of 27, asking fee of £35 million, I do not think he's worth that to Man United, because then how better is he than Rasmus Højlund? How better is he than Joshua Zirkzee? How better is he going to be than Matthias Cunha, who you just signed? We all know that Man United are pushing to sign Bryan Mbeumo from Brentford. So when you look at Bryan Mbeumo and Matthias Cunha, all those two have last season posted more better numbers in terms of overall goal involvement, with Matthias Cunha at 21 and Bryan Mbeumo at 27. That's for goals and assists combined. That each of those, that was better than what Christopher Nkunku has managed in his last 2 campaigns at Chelsea. So for me, it would be a big no for me. Then the other player that Man United have been linked with for a potential striker is Hugo Ekitike. Now, Hugo Ekitike, 23 years of age, very exciting young striker, French international, who is also a target for both Chelsea and Liverpool. Liverpool, the ones I think, I won't say the most interested, but because Chelsea are equally interested, and Man United made inquiries for Hugo Ekitike, but I do not think Man United should be spending 100 million euros to pay for a 23-year-old striker who's basically had one good season, because he did join Eintracht Frankfurt, I think initially on loan from Paris Saint-Germain, and he made, that was around February 2024. He made 14 appearances, he scored 4 goals and provided 2 assists, which was good. Given that he was new to the league, and then last season he scored 15 goals and provided 8 assists, which was a 23-goal involvement in 33 appearances. So that was good, but I do not think it's the kind of significant performance that you rely on to go out and make a financial outlay of up to 100 million euros, which is the reported demanding or asking fee for Eintracht Frankfurt. And so, but you never know. You never know. Anything is still possible. Then the other player that has been linked with a potential move to Manchester United is Fiorentina's Moises Kean. We do know for a fact that Moises Kean did join Everton in 2019 and played for them during the 2019-2020 season. Around Carlo Ancelotti's time, but things didn't really click for him. He ended up going on loan during the 2020-2021 season. He went out on loan at Paris Saint-Germain, where he made 26 appearances in the league and scored 13 goals, which was quite good. At least, he averaged a goal in every 2 games. Then now, again, in Italy, remember he had come through the ranks of Juventus, at some point played for Genoa on loan, and now he did make the switch officially to Fiorentina. 25 years of age is usually a good age. That's when, players get to click into their prime. We've seen that with Alexander Isak at Newcastle. We saw that with Mohamed Salah at both, transitioning from AC Roma to Liverpool. We saw that with Kevin De Bruyne. Things had not worked for him well at Chelsea when he had joined, I think, from Genk. Then he went out on loan initially to VfB Wolfsburg, where it worked, and eventually was signed up there. And then before he made the switch to Manchester City, so you never know. So last season, Moises Kean scored 19 goals and provided 3 assists. That's a 22-goal involvement in 32 Italian Serie A appearances, which is sort of a bit exciting. But like I said, it will be a gamble because his first attempt to the Premier League did not really work out. But again, all transfers are gambles because you pay expensively for these players and you hope that they will deliver. Do they eventually deliver? Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they suffer long-term injuries and careers go down the drain. And we know that Manchester United have an exciting player in Mason Mount, but his first 2 seasons at the Theatre of Dreams have been dominated by injuries. And we know Amadou Diallo, very exciting youngster in Manchester United's ranks, but injuries have sort of hampered his progress and development. Yet he's a very, very good player in there. So, and that kind of thing. Then wishfully, this is, like I said, wishfully, mark those keywords. That keyword wishfully, Man United have been linked with, it has been proposed that maybe they should be going for João Felipe Mateta from Crystal Palace. Now, again, João Felipe Mateta himself is a little bit of a late developer. He has been at Crystal Palace for as long as I can remember. I think he's played there for at least 5 seasons. But it is in the last 2 seasons that things have really, really clicked for him under Oliver Glasner. In this last season, but one that was 2023-2024, that's when he posted his Moscow contribution. He scored 16 goals and provided 5 assists, giving him a 21 overall goal involvement. While last season he scored 14 goals and provided 2 assists. Of course, that in itself was a bit of a decline to his delivery, but I do not think it's that concerning. He just needs, to use him well, and he will definitely bang the goals. Arsenal fans will know a thing or two about that because he did score the equalizer at the Emirates Stadium as the Eagles forced the Gunners into a 2-all draw, as last season was reaching its climax. So those are some of the striking options that Manchester United ought to consider, or that may look to consider in the wake of missing out on Liam Delap and Victor Osimhen, who does prefer a move to Galatasaray. Anyways, let's go away from Manchester United quickly and move to Newcastle, because Leeds are trying to push to sign their midfielder Sean Longstaff. The offer is of about £10 million plus £2 million, uh, and Leeds are yet to receive a reply from the Magpies. That's according to David Ornstein of the Athletic, who said that that personal terms are already in place for the 27-year-old to earn. So, sorry, yes, for the 27-year-old. So he said Leeds are pushing to sign Sean Longstaff from Newcastle. Third offer of £10 million plus yet to receive a reply, but close. Excuse me. Yes, but close to limit before Leeds pursue other targets. Personal terms in place. A 27-year-old wants Newcastle to earn his place rather than go next summer. Maybe next summer he will be a free agent. This is a bit of breaking news. So allow me chip it in again. It's according to David Austin of the Athletic, who says Inter Miami are extremely confident Lionel Messi will renew contract plus lead club to Freedom Park Stadium in 2026. Argentina legend targeted by Al Hilal. Then Saudi Pro League's pursuit of the 38-year-old is long-standing, but Inter Miami hope to announce a fresh deal anytime now. So that's according to the Athletic. Remember, his contract at Inter Miami does run out this year, at the end of this year, and they are looking to renew it. 38 years of age, and he's still going, pretty much like Cristiano Ronaldo at 40, he's still going. So there. Then back to Newcastle. Newcastle yesterday did reach an agreement with Nottingham Forest to sign 23-year-old Swedish international Antony Elanga, and according to David Austin, Antony Elanga, the former Manchester United player, should be undergoing his medicals in the next 48 hours before joining the rest of the Newcastle group. He said Antony Elanga set to do medical inside 48 hours and sign a 5-year deal after Newcastle signed agreement with Nottingham Forest for the 23-year-old winger to move to Newcastle from Nottingham Forest. 52 million plus bonuses. That's according to him. Joins teammates by end of the week. That's the Athletic reporting after Fabrizio Romano broke that story. Although according to Fabrizio Romano, the entire deal is worth about £55 million. Remember, Nottingham Forest signed Antony Elanga only 2 seasons ago for Man United for £15 million. So that would be quite the profit that they do get there. Of course, I think it's an exciting move for Antony Elanga. He will do well under Ed Howe, although he will have to fight for his place, because Newcastle already have heavy bans on their books. They do have Jacob Murphy, they do have Anthony Gordon all on their books. I think, of course, they are looking to have a bigger squad, given that they are going to be participating in the UEFA Champions League. That's why they wanted also to add. They want to add another striker to their ranks, and initially they were interested in João Pedro from Brighton, but he chose Chelsea over Newcastle. They only have, I think, Alexander Isak, because Callum Wilson has officially left the club. Then apparently they have been now linked with the potential move for the free agent in Dominic Calvert-Lewin, with reports suggesting that Ed Howe is a long-time fan of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But we will see how that situation also progresses quickly. Then, if we do go to Arsenal, yesterday, BBC Sport did report that Andre Bata had traveled to Portugal to try and seal a deal for Victor Gyökeres. Remember, Arsenal have already agreed to personal terms in principle with the 27-year-old Swedish striker who scored 54 goals in 52 appearances and provided 13 appearances in last season across all competitions. That's for Sporting CP. He has told the club he's not interested in returning to the club due to what he believes is a breach of their gentleman's agreement on principle that he would be allowed to leave for 70 million euros, and yet Sporting CP have since changed their minds to raise that to 80 million euros. And Sporting Lisbon are sort of trying to hold it out for 70 million euros as guaranteed fees plus 10 million euros in expected add-ons, while Arsenal are looking to do a deal at 65 million euros as guaranteed fees plus 5 million euros in expected add-ons. So that's still the stalemate, but those negotiations do continue, and that's why Andre Bata, the Arsenal sporting director, has gone to Portugal to see if he can hammer out the details of that deal and also talk payment structure. Now, usually by the time officials do travel to face-to-face kind of negotiations for those kinds of deals, then it's reaching that boiling point where it's a make or break. Either we do the deal or we do not. And Arsenal are looking for favorable payment terms, of course, in installments. I've told you about how these deals are done previously before, how clubs look to structure those deals when it comes to favorable paying terms. Buying clubs want favorable payment terms, selling clubs, excuse me, usually want a high fee, a guaranteed fee upfront. So, excuse me. So, for example, I normally use the analogy of buying a car. For those of you that have bought a car before and you're not buying it for cash, usually, if you're buying the car for cash, they'll tell you maybe, let's say it's 20,000 US dollars, which in Ugandan money would translate to about 75 million plus. So, if you're buying in cash, they would say it's let's say $20,000. But if you're buying it in installments, then they could say probably the fee rises to $22,000, so like that. So basically, if you agree on a fee, essentially, then there's to agree on how much is paid upfront out of, let's say if it were to be 65 million euros, and let's say Arsenal saying we'll pay you 25 million euros as cash at hand or upfront, and then the balance, which would be 40, we'll pay that in 2 installments. And if they can agree to those terms, then a deal can be done. But Victor Gyökeres is really, really desperate to join Arsenal. He has told all his suitors that he does fancy a move to Arsenal as priority over anybody else. And apparently he is willing to give up his 2 million euros in bonuses to make the switch to Arsenal. So we'll keep you abreast on that situation as it develops. Then quickly, Arsenal are also expected to complete a move to sign Christian Nørgaard this week. We are waiting. Documents were exchanged between Brentford and Arsenal. We are waiting for the player to complete his medicals and complete the switch from Brentford to Arsenal. That's the 31-year-old Danish central midfielder who has been a captain at Brentford for seasons gone by. Then quickly, this is the latest in regards now. Again, Arsenal fans, okay, let me complete the full circle. Maybe you want a snippet on Noni Madueke. Apparently, Chelsea want at least 50 million pounds for the 23-year-old England international, but I do not think Arsenal should be paying 50 million pounds for Noni Madueke. For me, I believe something like 35 should be sufficient to get that deal done. Maybe based on add-ons that could be a bit ambitious, could rise to 40 million pounds, but I think it shouldn't go to 50 million pounds. But it is what it is. The club will decide what serves them best. Then, so here is the latest transfer speculation and gossip around Europe and around your best teams or favorite teams. Tottenham and Newcastle and Napoli are all monitoring England attacker Jack Grealish, whose asking price is 40 million pounds for the 29-year-old. That's according to the Sun. I've said this before, and we re-emphasize it. I do not believe Jack Grealish, by measure of standard for his last 2 seasons at Manchester City, is worth £40 million. Then Newcastle remain hopeful of winning the race to sign McCahey, the 24-year-old Crystal Palace as centre-back and captain, has attracted interest from Liverpool, Newcastle, and Tottenham Hotspurs. Now, last summer, Newcastle tried to really push for him. Tottenham, same thing, but he ended up staying at Crystal Palace and he ended up lifting the FA Cup trophy. So let's wait and see if he will move or he will decide to see out the remainder of his contract at Crystal Palace and move as a free agent next summer. Because, like I keep saying, the season we are going into, players are looking for guaranteed time because the World Cup will come after next season. So that's why. Then also, Crystal Palace are themselves in talks with Sporting Lisbon over a potential move, which is worth about £45 million for Ivory Coast defender Ousmane Diomande. That's 21 years of age. That's according to the Guardian. Yes. Then Italian defender David Calabria, 28, is also target for Crystal Palace after having impressed at Bologna last season on loan, but he's a free agent after leaving AC Milan. So his contract expired. That's according to Sky Sports. Then Newcastle have held fresh talks with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, with manager Ed Howe, a long-term admirer of the England striker who left Everton after his contract expired last month and has interest from Manchester United. That's according to TalkSport. The reason as to why I'm more inclined to buy this story is because, not buying the story really, but I think it will be a favorable move for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Newcastle is an elevation by all accounts and measures from Everton, but also he will be a backup to Alexander Isak. And given that Newcastle are going to be in the UEFA Champions League, also that should be more enticing to him as he sort of advances in his career. At the age of 28, soon he will be 30, and we do not know what direction injuries could take him or what direction his career could go. Then also West Ham's 29-year-old Moroccan defender Naif Agad is a priority target for French side Olympique Marseille. That's according to L'Equipe in France. While Manchester United have made an approach for Atlanta and Brazilian midfielder Henderson, with the Serie A duo Inter Milan and Juventus also tracking the 26-year-old who is valued at about £44 million. Again, not the first time. This is according to Goal in Portugal. It's not the first time we are hearing Henderson's name. He has previously been linked with a potential move to Manchester United, although last summer they chose to go for Manuel Ugarte from Paris Saint-Germain. Now remember, Manuel Ugarte was at Sporting Lisbon when Ruben Amorim was there. He decided to sell him to Paris Saint-Germain, and now he moves to Man United and he finds him home. So, well, it could be that the manager doesn't fancy the player that much, and that's why they are looking to move him on. But let's wait and see how that situation will develop. Then staying with Man United, we do know that Denmark striker Rasmus Højlund, 22 years of age, is not considering a move away from the theatre of dreams unless the club decide to sell him, with Inter Milan one of those interests that have expressed interest in him, according to Fabrizio Romano. The player wants to stay and fight for his place, but I think I do not know. It's going to be a bit of a tough choice for Man United to make on Joshua Zirkzee and Rasmus Højlund. If you're bringing in a new striker, who do you stay with? Who do you retain? But let's wait and see. Then Man United are also interested in signing Nigerian midfielder Wilfred Ndidi. Brighton says, sorry, my mom is waiting for me to go to bed, but I'm going to stay up just to watch you live. Thank you so much. Sorry, I called you Peyton when your name is called Payson. I hope I'm pronouncing it the right way. But thank you so much for staying with us for the purposes of this broadcast. It has started raining out there here in Uganda, but thank you for keeping us company for the purposes of this broadcast. But we are almost wrapping it up. I see we are almost 50 minutes into the broadcast. So Man United are into that is Hagrid, disappointing son. Hey bro, what team do you support? I support the Uganda Cranes. okay, I support football entirely. That's my primary love. But I support the Uganda Cranes. I do support Arsenal. I do support Real Madrid. But because I love football over anything else, before all these clubs come in mind, that's why I can't sit here and objectively talk about different clubs and assess their situation. And I give you my honest opinion and views about them. So, but thank you so much for your question, Hagrid. A disappointing son. What team do you support, Hagrid? Do let me know down in the comment section. Same goes for Payson. What team do you support? Do let me know down in the comment section. But Hagrid, please consider liking the broadcast, but also subscribing to the channel, seeing that I'm only seeing you here for the first time. So we're talking about Wilfred Ndidi, only 28 years of age, and apparently he has a modest £9 million release clause in his Leicester City, which is a relegation release clause. Remember, Leicester City were relegated back to the Championship, but Everton, Fulham, and Crystal Palace are also all keen on Wilfred Ndidi. Now, if I'm any of these clubs, I really, really would be making. I would really, really be intentional on signing Wilfred Ndidi. Very, very Premier League proven, experienced, very, very good player, very athletic, very industrious. He could Everton could use a player like him, even though they are retaining Idris Gana Gueye, 35 years of age. He signed a new year contract there with an option to extend it for a further year. If you're Fulham, where Paulinho left, you could use a player like him. At Crystal Palace, while you have Adam Wharton, you never know who could come in for Adam Wharton as the transfer window edges on. You could really, really use Wilfred Ndidi. Man United with Casemiro bound to leave in a year's time because he has, I think, 1 year left for his current contract. And then it's still a no-brainer because you're only spending £9 million on the player. If that fee that is quoted is really, really good. Then I can see Hagrid says, yeah, okay, fair enough, bro. I'm a Manchester United supporter as well. Good to have you. You're one of the few Man United fans that are on this channel. And by the way, I do not know for how long you followed the conversation, but we started off the broadcast with Man United. So once the broadcast ends, if you did miss the first part of it, you can always go back and watch. We started off with the news that Manchester United had backed out of a deal for a documentary with Amazon that is worth £10 million. Then we also discussed their striking situation and things of that nature. My vlog edit is here with us, says RIPD Diego Jota. He also says hi. He's from Bangladesh. My vlog edit. Thank you for joining us. Good to have you. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here. But if it's not your first time, it's a pleasure to have you back. That's my vlog from Bangladesh. Then yes, indeed, RIP Diego Jota, RIP Andre Silva. That's his brother with whom they perished in that nasty car accident. From the information I've been able to gather is that Liverpool are going to pay his family the remainder, or will continue to pay his family the remainder of his contract. I think those wages or that pay will be going to his wife Rote, who he did leave behind with 3 children, 3 very, very young children. Of course, it's a bit of a difficult one. I've also received some reports. I do not know how true this is, but apparently Ibrahim Konate, the Liverpool defender, at 26 years of age, the French international, has apparently also offered to help look after the family. And then Liverpool also are going to be going to take care of Diego Jota's children until I think they finish education and help set them up. So, which is really, really a beautiful sign, a good show, a sign of sportsmanship, a very good courtesy. I mean, you could not thank them enough in the wake of that tragedy. So it's really, really good to hear. I do not think there's any amount of words that we can tell the parents of Diego Jota and Andre Silva to comfort them in this moment of time. But this is a period of time where we do, in the wake of death, where we do question ourselves if this life is really, really worth living. in the wake of such tragedy. But I hope that they can find some reason to carry on, especially, helping Rute cope with taking care of the grandkids and that kind of thing. Where are you from? That's my blog asking. I'm from Kampala, Uganda. Thanks for asking. Uganda is from the eastern part of Africa, the continent being Africa, then East Africa being the region, and then the country is a small landlocked country called Uganda in there. Hagrid says, yeah, Liverpool is making some beautiful gestures towards the family, shows how classy they really are. Yeah, indeed. It's quite classy. Do you know Bangladesh? Yes, I do know Bangladesh. I've worked with a couple of people from Bangladesh. We were working on a small project. It was only for 1 month. They were helping with, some digital marketing, endeavors in a certain regard. So I do know Bangladesh very well. They are famous for, I think, for their oil trains for which people pile on and things of that nature. Then also quickly, let's return to Man United, because Manchester United apparently quoted £30 million as a transfer fee for Andre Onana to AC Monaco, who had expressed a certain level of interest in signing the 29-year-old Cameroon goalkeeper. So I do not know, but Man United, I know for a fact, are open to letting go of Andre Onana, and should he leave, because Man United can only sign a goalkeeper if they do move on Andre Onana. And should they be able to move on, apparently they have 3 names on their shortlist. Is Aston Villa's Emiliano Martinez, that's the 32-year-old Argentine World Cup winner, and then they have Andre Lunin on that shortlist. That's the Real Madrid backup goalkeeper. Then also they have a player, the Atalanta goalkeeper, the 24-year-old Italian international called Casenecchi, is one of those on the shortlist for Manchester United for goalkeepers, should they be able to move on Andre Onana in this transfer window. Man, it's a shame it hasn't worked out for Onana, but he deserves a fresh start somewhere else. Andre Onana is a very good goalkeeper. I've said this before. You do not go from being voted the best goalkeeper in 2023 and suddenly 1 year, 2 years down the road, then you're arguably the worst goalkeeper. So something has not worked out really well for him at Old Trafford. And the challenge with Man United is that as inefficient as he can be, Andre Onana, he's still better than all the other goalkeepers they do have on their books. So really, that's the situation there. Then, guys, also go to the channel, check out our video section. There's plenty of content for you there to watch. Go to the shorts section, watch our shorts. I know yesterday we did put out any because, again, things got a bit crazy. If we do have power returning soon, then maybe I'll look to do more content and put it out on the channel. But thank you so much for those that have already watched it. There's a couple of videos on the channel. We talk about Arsenal's pursuit for Madueke, the Victor Yokers and Martin Zubimendi. Manchester United fans is being disgruntled with the slow transfer business from their club in regards to incomings and outgoings. We also discussed a bit of that yesterday morning. So really look at it that way. Hagrid says, exactly, bro. It's just that he doesn't seem to work together as well as he did with the defense at Inter. He's still a good goalkeeper. Yes, but also entirely, by the way, guys. Here, my feeling about Manchester United also is that the challenges they have in terms of conceding goals are not entirely to do with the goalkeeper. Of course, the goalkeeper has made his mistakes, but even De Gea sometimes made mistakes. And also on some days we've seen Andre Onana put on quite the show to show that he's a very good goalkeeper and save Manchester United and keep them in the game. I think part of Man United's problem emanates from the midfield. Every time their midfield fails, especially in winning back the ball, in shielding the defense and leaving the defense exposed, that exposes the defense, which eventually exposes the goalkeeper. Then when you look at the defense at Manchester United, I mean, they've struggled for consistency in terms of partnership. We all knew it was going to be Lisandro Martinez and maybe alongside Harry Maguire with Luke Shaw and Diego Dalot. That's during the Ten Hag era, but it didn't come to that because Ten Hag eventually leaves, and in comes Ruben Amorim, who wants to play with the back three, and then Lisandro Martinez is injured. Then in comes Lenny Yoro, who plays with Matthias David, Harry Maguire, sometimes with Mazarui. So there's need for Manchester United to build that bit of chemistry within their defense, within their backline, to say this is our primary starting trio in our back three or back four, depending or back five, depending on how they choose to deploy, and build that chemistry. But also, I've said this before, in that midfield, beyond the number 6, Man United need a number 8, a player in the mold of Paul Scholes, a player in the mold of what's his name at Aston Villa, Yuri Tillemans, that player that can receive the ball, from the defenders, from the number 6, and sort of controls the tempo of the game. Can take the ball forward, can take the ball backwards, depending on situations. He's quite defensive, but also offensive in similar strength. They need that kind of profile player within their ranks. Okay, my vlog says now we are friends because I know anything about Bangladesh. He poses the question about Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. Who do I like most? And then he also shows us his country's flag. Yes, I've seen your flag. Thank you so much, my vlog edits. Then, in regards to Ronaldo or Messi, I'm not one to really choose sides. I do appreciate all of them as very, very astronomical players. Everyone has his strength from given the kinds of careers that we've come to watch of them. I think it's been really, really a pleasure to watch them for the last 20 years or so. Everyone was unique in their own way, and they've all gone on to achieve very, very good things. Of course, maybe the criticism for Cristiano Ronaldo is he's not won the World Cup, which Messi has won, but there's nothing that Messi has won that Cristiano Ronaldo has not won. Cristiano Ronaldo won the Euros. Lionel Messi won Copa America. Cristiano Ronaldo won the UEFA Nations League. In South, they do not have that kind of tournament. But yeah, the only icing of the cake for Cristiano Ronaldo would be if he went on to win the World Cup. But even if he doesn't win it, it doesn't take anything away from him being a great player. And I do not think that if Messi had not won the World Cup, it still would take anything away from him as being a great player. You come back to say you hate Messi. I do not know your reasons for saying that you hate him, but I do sort of understand maybe where you're coming from. Maybe you're a Cristiano Ronaldo fan, and that's just it. But for me, objectively, there's no either or. Then Harid says very well put. The lack of consistency and our midfield being understandable have been an issue since Ole was our manager. Yeah, so for me, I do think that wherever Man United think their priorities ought to be in terms of making additions to their squad, I think they need to really, really look at a number 8 kind of player, the like of Fabian Ruiz or Vitinha. He can play that kind of role, although he plays as a 6, or João Neves. Or we've seen Bruno Fernandes be pulled back to play that kind of number 8 role, but it's not a role that he thrives in. He wants to be in that free role of a 10, which begs the question, because Ruben Amorim wants to play with 2 10s. Now, because you're signing Matthias Cunha, who plays as a 10, and you're bringing in Brandon Bomo, who also plays as a 10/winger, depending on how you deploy him, although he can also play as the lead striker, and then United are also in the market for a top striker, then that means that they are looking to play with 2 10s and a top striker. Then that means for you to create room for Bruno Fernandes, you'll have to pull him backwards for him to play in midfield. That's alongside either Casemiro or Manuel Ugarte, or if it's Wilfred, indeed, whoever you may choose, or alongside Kobe Mino, depending. But United need that number 8 kind of player. I thought Kobe Mino would be it, but he has sort of fallen off pace a little bit in the last one season or slightly so, but there is a very, very good player in there in Kobe Mino. So for me, I've made the recommendation that maybe United should look to sign Yuri Tillemans. Premier League proven, he has the experience of playing in that role. He really understands it well. Then there's a player from Sporting Lisbon. His name, unfortunately, has gone off my fingertips. That was being linked with the potential move to Manchester United. Is also a midfielder. You say someone I would love us to assign is Crepin Thuram from Juventus in the 8th role. Yeah, he's a very, very good player in that role as well. Then there's been speculation that Douglas Luiz could be offered to Man United in a swap deal for Jadon Sancho. Douglas Luiz is equally a player that I do appreciate. Still 27 years of age, Premier League proven. While he plays as a number 6, he can also play as a number 8 because he's good at being the box-to-box kind of role, and he does add goals to his game. At least we saw that in his final season at Aston Villa. So, but let's wait and see. But to the best of my knowledge, unfortunately, I've not seen any names, critical names, being in terms of a midfielder in that mold, being linked with the potential move to Manchester United. That's for me still a little bit unfortunate for me to sort of follow on. And I hope that situation does change before the transfer window does shut down, or maybe Ruben Amorim has other ideas in regards to how he may deploy his team. But at least Hagrid here does certainly agree. He says Douglas Luiz or Tillemans would both be great signings for us. Then you also say, okay, Dennis Jukes. Dennis Jukes is one of our semi-regular followers on the podcast. Hi, Dennis. Good to have you back on the podcast. Do you think 52 million is a fair price for Elanga, seeing Forest paid 15 for the man from Man United? Is it a fair price? The one thing I would say is that transfer fees in recent times have been overly exaggerated, in my opinion. Are some players worth the money they are bought for? Yes, because let's look. Remember, Man City bought Erling Haaland for about 52 million pounds from Borussia Dortmund. I mean, would you compare bought Erling Haaland to Antony Elanga if you are grading them in terms of valuation? No, but that's what they paid. And then you look at Jack Grealish. He commanded 100 million pounds from Aston Villa. Was he worth 100 million pounds? I did not think so. Maybe 80 million pounds should have sufficed. But that was the transfer fee. So again, Newcastle wanted to pay 50 million pounds. That offer was turned down. So they went back in with 52 million pounds, apparently plus 3 million pounds in expected add-ons, raising the fee to about 55 million pounds. So when it comes to fair valuation, I do not think I agree with the valuation of these players. You look at Liverpool paying 100 million pounds for Florian Wirtz, plus 16 million pounds in expected add-ons, possibly rising even to more. So is he worth it? I'm not convinced to think so, because he's had two really, really great seasons where he's had a 22 goal involvement in Germany at Bayer Leverkusen. And like I said, it's always a huge gamble depending on what you pay for a player to sign them. Harry Maguire, when he was joining Man United from Leicester City for about 85 million pounds, was he worth that? I thought it was an overvaluation. But you remember, when big clubs are buying players, there's sort of an English, there's sort of a tax, a big team tax to that. So just imagine if Man United had gone to Nottingham Forest asking for Antony Elanga, they would have possibly even been asked to pay maybe 60 million pounds or even more. So there's also that factor. Then you look at his age, being 23, he still has an entire career ahead of himself. So that forms part of the negotiations. But for me, I would have thought that maybe 40 to 45 million pounds would have been sufficient to sign a player like Antony Elanga. That would be my view. Then, okay, my vlog says Real Madrid or Barcelona. Real Madrid. That's the team I pay allegiance to in the Spanish La Liga. But I have no issues with Barcelona really, because they've had some of my favorite players of all time play for them. Ronaldinho Gaucho being one of them, Ronaldo Nazario Darima being one of them, and then players like Deco, really, really good players. I for this one, things did not work out, but I really had high hopes in him. Bojan Kakic, Ibrahim Afelai, he also played for. I think they both played for Stoke City at some point. I think that was Bojan Kakic. And then, I mean, they've had good players. Present day, you look at Lamine Yamal, and you can't help it appreciate his talent. So that's where I do stand. Ronaldo is my friend, and then you say I'm in Al Nassr now. Okay, that's good. That's good. Then let's conclude with the transfer gossip. Then, okay, Sunderland, Leeds United, and Wolves are all interested in signing loans and Morocco under 23 midfielder Neil El Anoy. But first competition from AC Roma, Juventus, and AC Milan for the 24-year-old. That is according to Foot Mercato in France. Anyways, guys, it's been a pleasure having this debate, this conversation, this engagement with you. Thank you so much for your input. But like I did say, please subscribe, continue subscribing to the channel, continue liking our videos, our shorts. Go under go to the channel, check out our short section. Go to the channel and check out our video section. There's some content for you there to watch, where we do give some exclusive submissions on different topics. We look to bring those more often. I see we have a question here. He says, a very good stream, bro. Subbed and looking forward to the next one. Thank you so much. Usually we do our live streams in the morning between 9 and 10 a.m. That's when we usually start. And then we also do late in the night, usually at 11 p.m. East African time. But if you're in the UK, usually that's around 9 p.m. And if you're in the USA, it's during the day at that time for us when it is night. So please, sometimes I know it's a bit of a struggle for our different fans from the different countries because of the differences in time zones, but there's not much we can do about that. But yeah, thank you so much for those that have subscribed to the channel. I do really appreciate you. For those that like the broadcast, for those of you that submitted in your thoughts, your opinions, your comments, thank you so much. For those that were behind the curtains, did not submit a comment, I still appreciate you. Those that do watch our live broadcasts much later after they've concluded, I still do not take your time for granted. It's always a pleasure to have you watch them and give your feedback. Let's continue with the trend. But as we seal out this one, if you're interested in, bro, I cannot English properly. Oh, you mean it's okay. English is not my native language as well. Only that it's our official language as a country. So that's how I know it. But it's okay if your English is not good. I'm not going to hold it against you because I know there are languages I'm not good at. People come here and type in Russia, in Hindu, and I can't comprehend. So it's understandable. Then, so before I sign out, guys, in case you're interested in learning some digital skills like cybersecurity, coding, and web design, do not forget to check out our friends at Ebostet. I'll leave their link down in the description of this podcast so that you can check them out at your most opportune time. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure doing this with you. Special shout outs to Mia for being part of today's podcast. Akel, Sandu, thank you so much. Payson from the USA, thank you so much. Jonas, it was a pleasure. Hagrid, disappointing son, it's been a pleasure meeting you. My brother is a Manchester United fan, although he didn't tell us what country he is from. Then my vlog edit from Bangladesh, good to have you on the broadcast. Thank you so much for your contribution today. Dennis Dukes did rejoin us once again. Thank you so much. So thank you so much. Have yourselves a blessed day. Oh yeah, I'm Dutch, bro. Okay, good to know. There, Hagrid is from Dutch. There, any local team you support in the Dutch LDVs? Before I sign out, do you know a website called Designer? I'm not sure I do know it, but I can check it out after here. I can take note of that and I do check it out after my broadcast. Designer, if I don't know why you're recommending it, but I certainly can check it out after this broadcast. But thank you. So, anyways, guys, it's 1 hour and it's 1 hour and 14 minutes. It's been a pleasure doing this with you. Let's do it again later tonight. That's at 11 p.m. East African time and tomorrow morning. Yeah, you said I asked myself, very few people know the name of the league, though props for that, bro. Yeah. Very few people know the name. Yeah, but yeah, I try to follow as much football as my head can accommodate, given that I just love football entirely. If you lock me in a room with a screen to watch football all day, I would have no qualms with it. How do you learn English? Just keep practicing my vlog edits. Just keep practicing by writing, by speaking. If you find somebody you can engage with in an English conversation, engage. You can only learn by practice. You can only learn by practice. Otherwise, have yourselves a blessed day. Let's meet later today. Bye bye.